Hello friends, let's go ahead and do Unit 4, Lesson F. This is another transportation method. This one is called minimum cell cost. And we have it on yellow paper so that it's really clearly different from the pink stuff that we did in the last lesson. So they're the same problems, right? This one is like this first one is still the bread problem that we talked about in the last lesson. But now we're not looking for the northwest corner. Like we're trying a different method. So minimum cell cost is called minimum cell cost because you look for the cell that has the lowest cost. It's a very appropriate name. Okay, so we are looking for the cheapest box. We're going to fill the cheapest box. And then once we fill that, then we'll move on and we'll keep filling the cheapest box that we can. If there's a tie, because sometimes multiple cells cost the same thing. If there's a tie, you're going to fill the box that you can fill the most with. So the one that you can put the bigger number in. So we're going to write that here. If there's a tie, choose the box you can fill the most. All right, so as we're looking right here at this tableau, what is the cheapest box? Well, cheapest is 1, and there are 2 that have 1. There's this one right here and this one right here. So we want to pick the one that we can put the most into. So if I picked this box, I could only put 1 in it, right? Because this number's a 1 and this number's a 7. If I pick this box, I could put 2 in it because this number's a 2 and this number's a 3. So I'm going to pick that one on the bottom because I can put the most into it. Right, so I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to put the maximum amount I can in there, which is 2, which will knock this down to a 1 and knock this down to a 0. So now this row is fulfilled. I'm going to look for the next cheapest box. So I got 8, 9, 3, 15, 1, and 12. Okay, I'm going to go with the 1. How much can I put in there? 1. Just going to knock this down to a 0 and this down to a 6. So now I have finished this whole row. Okay, now I'm looking at what I have left in that top row. What's the cheapest box? The 3. How much can I put in there? Only 1. This goes down to a 0. This goes down to a 7. So now I have finished this column. Between the 8 box and the 9 box, 8's cheaper. I can only put 1 in there. This goes down to a 0. This goes down to a 6. So now this column's all finished. And now I've just got that last box. I had to put 6 in there because, you know, 6 and 6. But that will finish off the problem there. So let's figure out what this cost is. It is 1 times $8 plus 6 times $9 plus 1 times $3 plus 1 times $1 plus 2 times $1. So that looks like $68, which again might not be the cheapest way to do it, but this is the method that we're going to follow. This is an algorithm, and we're going to see like whether it's going to give us the optimal results or not. But we have to learn all 3 of the methods before we can do any comparison. All right, so here's example 1. Remember, we're looking for the cheapest box. Cheapest box, cheapest box. This is the cheapest box. So how much can I put in there? Between 6 and 8, I can put 6 in there. This goes down to a 0. This goes down to a 2. And now I have satisfied the top row. Oh, and I have to close OneNote and open it again. That's okay. Figure it out. Okay, now it should be happier because I opened it and closed it. All right, now it'll let me. There we go. Okay, now I'm looking for cheapest box again. 3, 4, 5. 3 is the cheapest. I can put 3 in there. This goes down to a 0. This goes down to a 4. And now this column is done. Last 2 boxes. 4 is the cheapest. I can put 2 in there, which brings this down to a 0 and this down to a 2. So now this is all done. And I'm going to put 2 into that last box. And that'll bring everything down to 0. So cost is 6 times $2 plus 3 times $3 plus 2 times $4 plus 2 times $5. Add all of that up, $39. Next, cheapest box. Remember, with minimum sell cost, you're trying to be cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap is the name of the game. So this right here is the cheapest box. I can put 4 in there. That'll bring this down to a 0 and this down to a 4. And now I have satisfied this middle row. Next cheapest box is the 3. I can put 2 in there. That'll bring this down to a 0 and this down to a 1. Now this is satisfied. All right, and up top, 9's the cheapest. I can put 4 in here. I'll bring this down to a 1 and this down to a 0. And now this column is finished. And I just have to put the remaining 1 into that last box, which is the most expensive box. Yeah, so cost is going to be 1 times $10 plus 4 times $9 plus 4 times $2 plus 2 times $3. Add all that up, $60. All right, so then we're going to go on to our super awesome wheat example, which is the same example that we did when we did northwest corner rule. We're just going to do it with a different method. Okay, so this time I didn't make the whole tableau for you. I'm going to let us make this tableau together. Okay, so we want to go ahead and put all of our suppliers and like what they can supply and all of our demands and put that on there too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put Kansas City, which needs 150, Omaha 175, Des Moines 275. Right? Oh, I shouldn't say need. I should say like what they can supply, right? Those are my suppliers. Okay, so then the cities that need, the ones that have the mills, that's Chicago and St. Louis and Cincinnati. So Chicago's gonna need, the 200, 100, 300, and then I can put in the costs. So Kansas City, Chicago, that's a 6. St. Louis, Kansas City, that's an 8, right? I'm looking right here. This is a 10, this is a 7, 11, 11, 4, 5, 12. Right? We're just synthesizing all of that information, those 3 different tables, into this one tableau. So minimum sell cost. Cheapest sell in this tableau is the one that costs $4, the Des Moines, Chicago sell. So how much can I put in there? I can put 200 in there. I'll bring this down to a 0 and this down to a 75. And that totally satisfies this first column. Right? Chicago now has everything. All right, now the cheapest is the 5. I could put 75 in there. That makes this 0 and this 25. And now the bottom is all finished. Next cheapest is the 8. I can put 25 in there. That brings this down to a 0 and this down to 125. And now this middle column is done. And next cheapest is the 10. I can put 125 in there. This is 0. This will go to 175. So this is now done. So now I just got that last box. I got to put 175 in there. But that does bring this down to a 0 and this down to a 0. All right, so cost is 25 times $8, 125 times $10, 175 times $11, 200 times 4, and 75 times 5. Let's see. Add all that up, make sure I've got it all added in there correctly. $4,550, which, as I recall, is cheaper than the one that we did in the last lesson when it was northwest corner. Interesting. I wonder if it always works that way. Hint, it doesn't. Sometimes it does though. All right, so hey, that's the second method. That's minimum cell cost.